Welcome back to a view from the inside, a gunsmith review. Now today we're going to be looking at the Smith & Wesson M&P Shield, and this one happens to be 9. I also happen to have the Performance Center too as well. This was a customer's that need to be strip cleaned, and since it's already apart, we're going to be going ahead and looking mainly at this. But any differences between the two, I'll go ahead and show you at that time. So let's go ahead and get right to it. I'm going to go ahead and start with an overview. So I definitely like the feel of the gun, the grips. It's not aggressive at all, so it'll definitely be comfortable when concealed carrying. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. Yeah. So it feels good. So it's not too aggressive, and especially when you're carrying it up against your skin. Now, one thing I don't like is how short. It's great for conceal, but not really great for a proper grip. That's why I usually keep the extended always in. Now it comes with 2 mags, one with the extended and one without. This is with the without, but I went ahead and got an aftermarket extender, and I'll show you guys that at the end of the video. This is the Performance Center. On mine, I have an aftermarket Apex. And again, at the end of the video, I'll show you a couple of the aftermarket stuff. I don't particularly care for how curved this trigger is. To me, it's not natural. It doesn't feel right. And also, you know, how Glock has the little tab and some of the others. This one, it's the whole thing is that tab. And I'm not sure how I really feel about it, but right off the bat, I don't particularly care for it, and that's why I ended up replacing mine with an Apex. Let's go ahead and start with the mag. I like the fact that the body's steel, but of course everything else today is plastic. They did take the time to weld. I don't know if it's TIG or MIG, but they did weld it. Now they didn't go all the way up. I find that interesting. I don't know why they didn't do that, but I don't see any problems with it. Now, they did take the time too to put loading holes, which I also like. And that's all I have to say. It's properly made. Again, I like steel. Let's move on to the recoil rod and spring. It's a 2-piece construction, which I like because this helps reduce recoil, especially in sub and subcompacts. I also like the fact that they used a flat spring here, so that way if it ever coil bind, even though this firearm is designed not to, which I also really like, and I'll show you that later, but if it ever did, it will help reduce that coil bind. Barrel. Really like the fact that they took the time to polish the feed ramp. Look at that. After cleaning it, it's nice and shiny. You can really see it. I also like the fact that the transition to the feed ramp to the chamber is nice and smooth, no step. The only thing I would have done is maybe did a little chamfer on the sides here and here, but not necessary. Now, see the hole right here? That's for a loading indicator. I particularly don't care for that, and I don't care for it on the slide either. If you're going to do something like that, I would do something that actually pops up so you can actually see it. You know, whereas here, it's still possible for you to miss. But you should know when your firearm is loaded anyways. This one is the Performance Center. You can see that it's been ported. Now the difference between the ported and non-ported, me and a couple of my buddies, we actually did some tests, and I have found that there was reduced felt recoil, but it was very, very small amount. So just keep that in mind. And properly crowned. Now let's go to the slide components. This is the extractor. It's properly designed. You can see it wants to slope towards the claw, and that's what you want. You want it to dig into the case. Extractor pin, it's a roll pin, and again, I like that. They tend not to work their way out. And this is the spring for it, and it's very stout, which it needs to be. Extractor itself, I like the fact that they did a little slight chamfer right here. Let's see if I can show you that. There you go. Kind of see it right there. It's chamfered. Now, one thing that's not is the face of it. Not only is it not chamfered right here, but I would think that it would need to be kind of round so you can have full purchase. So I have a cartridge here, well, brass casing. In this position, this is where the extraction starts. And when you take a look, it almost got, I would say, close to 80, maybe 75% contact onto that brass. So it's very surprising. So they did a very good job designing that. I like that. Another thing I like about this tractor is you see that piece right there? That hump, chunk of metal protruding out? What that does is stops the extractor from being pushed all the way to the side. So just in case if you had a blowout, extractor can't be pushed to the point to where it will break. It will stop up against the frame or the side of the slide. That's what I meant to say. So I really like that design that they put into the extractor. It's really good. A lot of thought put into this gun. So let's move on to the firing pin. The firing pin has a spring to retract it after it fires. So what I like to do as a test is to push the firing pin block in safety in, push the firing pin in, and then let go of the firing pin block in safety. And what you want is to make sure that that spring can push the firing pin back, and it does. Because what you don't want to happen is that firing pin still sticking out the breech face. You want that spring to retract it back. So let's look at the firing pin assembly itself. Here's the firing pin and its assemblies. I love the fact that they polished or they put some kind of slick coating on this firing pin. So when it's properly oiled, it's very, very slick. I like that. I also like its keeper too as well. Some keepers are basically 2 C cups, half and half. Well, they made this one so that way it fits into a groove that's been machined out on the firing pin and then leaving this open space. So what that does is it helps reduce pumping. And I also like the fact that it did the same thing right here. I don't know if you can see that. Yep, you can. A little bit out of focus, but there's space right there to also help reduce the pumping. And of course, on the slide, they drill a hole to allow air to escape, so that way it also reduces pumping. So virtually with all those things together, it stops this firearm from pumping at all. Now it's possible. Excessive amount of use without cleaning, you can have debris start collecting here, and especially right here. So about every 3,000 or 4,000 rounds or so, I would take this apart. There's plenty of videos out there that show you how to do that, and you don't even have to take the firing pin subassembly apart at all. Just simply take toothbrush and clean it, re-oil it, make sure you just have a thin coat, and that's it, and you're good to go.